Hi, this is Kirk with the Wellness Elevation channel. You may or may not know that we've started a series on peptides. Um, this is the fourth video. The first was Peptides 101. The second was a breakdown on Redatrutide. And the third was a breakdown on MOTS-C. So this one's a little bit different. If you might have watched any of the other ones, you might have noticed that I used an AI clone of myself. And I do that for a couple reasons. One is sometimes I mess words up. They come out of here just perfectly fine, but by the time they come out of my mouth, they're completely messed up. So not only does that save me a lot of time on editing, but also this is an important subject to me. I'm trying to get information out about research peptides, and I want them to be correct. Granted, sometimes the AI voice messes up words too, but nowhere near as much as I do. So this one, I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit more about my own journey when it comes to weight and just wellness overall. Now, I would say a little bit over 10 years ago, I was at my highest I've ever been. I had a trucking company, and although I wasn't driving anymore, I still maintained a CDL, which meant I had to maintain a medical card. So I went in for my 2-year physical, stepped on the scale, and I was a little shocked. Now, I know I had gotten big, right? There was no denying that, but I did not think I was over 300 pounds. When I stepped on the scale, I was 333 pounds. So it was a little bit of a slap in the face, which I needed a lot more than a slap in the face. But I started to make some changes. Now, the first thing I did, I pretty much just changed all of my beverages to diet, which is not a great thing to do necessarily. You could do a lot better, like cut them out all together, but that's what I did, and I lost some weight right away. Then there was a company named Systems, I believe it was called, where you can buy a month worth of food to eat. So I did that for 2 months, and I lost more weight. Stalled out a little bit after that, and then tried just doing my own calorie counting, and that worked for a minute. Then it would plateau. So that got me down to the, in the about 290 range. After that, I was always doing this, but at least there was always a downward trend. Then I got into keto and carnivore and intermittent fasting, and that got me down to around the 250 range, and still had more to go. Something changed though. I had a company in another state, and I was doing a lot of traveling from home to my company. And after a couple of years, it hit some issues and it became very stressful. And I had a lot of people relying on me, and a lot of people's money relying on me. And I didn't handle the stress well, which is not really the ideal thing to do when people are relying on you. And I just started eating all the time. On the road, I drive through, that drive through. And I did this thing where I told myself, this is getting out of hand. I'm getting big again, or bigger. It's not like I wasn't big. And I would tell myself, I'm going to stop tomorrow. I'm going to get back into keto or carnivore tomorrow. So I'm going to blow it out today and just eat whatever the heck I want, or whatever I think I will be missing in the future. Except tomorrow never came. So I just did that over and over and over again. Till towards that end of the year, I was pretty big, and I did a couple little construction jobs with a friend of mine. And he's a gym guy, he's buff, and he started telling me about peptides. Except I don't really remember him saying the word peptides. I'm sure he did. But he was talking about, doing injections into his stomach and all that. So me being ignorant on what he was telling me, I just dismissed it and just assumed it was like steroids or something like that. Anyway, that year ended. We had New Year's for 2025. And I weighed myself the next morning, and I was up to 282 again. So I'm like, I'm not going to 3. So I went back to what I have experienced as some of the best weight loss, and that was through keto and carnivore and intermittent fasting and fasting. Um, that did get me down. In May, I was 260. And at that point, I started really doing deep dives on YouTube, and I was getting more conscious of different nutrition stacks and just different biology and things to follow. And I came across peptides, and I started watching some stuff about peptides and reached back out to my friend. I'm like, hey, that stuff you were talking about, were those peptides? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. I didn't start taking them in May, but I did just jump head in on research for about 3 months, watching a lot of videos, a lot of different people. When different studies were mentioned, I would try looking them up and doing some studying on that. And that's when we got to the point where I was ready to jump in. Before we go any further, let's go over the disclaimer. This video is designed solely for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. The content shared here reflects general scientific findings and personal perspectives, but it does not constitute medical or professional advice. Nothing in this video should be used to diagnose, treat, predict, or cure any health condition or disease. And the reason I've already done a video on a deep dive into Redatrutide and MOTS-C is that's what I started with. So when I started, I was, like I said, almost 260. I started with Redatrutide and MOTS-C, and right now we're at about months 3.5. And I have done some other ones since then, but I'm going to just focus on these two. And the way I started with it is, I started with 1.75 milligrams per week. After looking at the human trials for Redatrutide and where all the different dosing categories are with the placebo, and people starting at 2 and sometimes titrating up to 12. See, that's one of those words I just messed up. I started really light for that first week. I did it a little different though. I did not just do 1 shot per week. I did a 0.5 milligram every other day. And that's how I came up to that 1.75 milligrams per week. And then on the alternating days, I did the same thing with MOTS-C. Took a 0.5 milligram every other day. And this is, of course, all subcutaneous. At the end of the week, can't say I felt much, but what I did notice is the food noise in my head was a completely different conversation. Like I said, I was used to driving around, passing things that I might want. And no different. I would pass something and go, hey, I could pull in that drive through and get a such and such. And be like, I don't want to. Or I'll go back past Casey's gas station with pizza that I like, and I can get 2 pieces of pizza, and I just didn't want to. And I found it really amazing. After that first week, then I bumped it up to 750 micrograms every other day, and I did the same thing with the MOTS-C. And then I would say a couple weeks in, that's when I just started noticing energy that I wasn't used to. I kept the progression going. I think I went up to a full milligram every other day. So we were at 3.5 milligrams per week. So I'm like, okay, from everything that I looked at, it seems like that sweet spot as far as the human trials go for Redatrutide was between 4 and 8 milligrams. Yes, they went up to 12, but it was a slight improvement at 12 than it was 8. So I don't know what's the point of that. Who knows? Maybe I'll get there, but just it was really interesting. And to get back to the MOTS-C, I can remember, since I'm in the car so much, I have a SUV, a Yukon. I would drive for a little while. I would get out of the car and then slowly make myself stand up. Well, now I'm opening the door and I'm just flinging myself out. And that was one of the first clues to me on how my body was changing. I really enjoyed it. I'm probably already making this part a bit too long, so I'm going to kind of get to where I'm at now. So here we are, a little bit more than 3 months from when I was just about 260. I'm at 225 now, which blows my mind. I didn't necessarily have a goal what I wanted to get to, but I have a son and I have a stepson, and they're in their mid-20s. And I was talking to both of them one day, and I said, "Yeah, I'm down to 222," and they're like, "That's exactly what we are." And they're not big guys. So it was kind of weird. I'm like, nobody would have thought that I weighed as much as my boys. Not me, certainly not my boys. They were blown away. Um, Also, where I'm at right now, I'm currently taking 7 milligrams per week, and I've done it in 2 different ways. And that is, I had gotten up to the 2 milligrams every other day, so that's 7 per week. And what I noticed is the days that I would take the Redatrutide was good. It was helpful, but I noticed more feeling full the very next day. So I thought, okay, well, why don't I change from going from 2 milligrams every other day to 1 milligram every day? And that's what I've been doing now for about 3 weeks. So I feel more of a steady state of being full all the time, not able to eat a lot of food. Of course, I prioritize my protein first. I mean, in theory, I guess I could eat anything, but my rule is to try to get the majority of my protein in first early in the day, because I don't know how much I'm going to eat for the rest of the day. Probably not a lot. So I need to make sure I get the protein. And that's been working out really well. I've done some other things since then. Some other peptides I've tried to do a little research on my own. And I'll get into that a little bit more. But as far as a regular kind of protocol that I use for myself, and even my wife, now that she's watched me do that for 3 months now, she's decided to go and try some as well. I do the 7 milligrams of Redatrutide. I am just ending doing 7 milligrams of MOTS-C. I'm going to stop that for a little while. I'm going to get into the close stack for a while. I also have jumped into the oral SLU PP332 SLU, or as some people call it, exercise in a bottle. Definitely get some energy boost from that. And I also do methylene blue every day. That's just been fun. Now, of course, there's plenty of other things I need to be doing, right? I need to stay up on my electrolytes, drink lots of fluid. All of those will be in demand as the body's changing. Go for walks on a regular basis, try to get 10,000 steps in. And I also do lighter resistance training. Even though when I'm lifting weights, I'm going higher in weights over time, I'm trying to take it easy for 2 reasons. One is I don't really have any known injuries right now. I'm 55, and I'm super grateful that I've lived the life that I have, and I don't have any noticeable injuries. I want that to stay that way. And the other thing is too, I'm basically focused on trying to change my body composition right now. Yeah, I want to get bigger, but I'm gonna take that slow right now. I'm just gonna focus on just being healthy. This Redatrutide and MOTS-C, especially Redatrutide, GLP-3, people are calling it. It's a great weight loss peptide, but the weight loss is just, something that happens. It does so much more. And I'm not going to get into that here because I already have a video where I did a real deep dive. I think that's about, my explanation of what I'm doing on a daily basis now. So that's kind of where I'm at and why I'm even doing this. And the main reason I'm doing this, there's lots of great information out there. But I wanted to put something out with the information as well in a way that I would have liked to see it. There is a YouTube channel out there that has phenomenal information, and I have a lot of respect for the person who's given that information. But he's also got a big ego. Half of the videos are full of drama. My wife don't like to listen to him. She calls him Dr. Porcupine. But the point is when I would try to explain things or give details to some of my friends who would ask me questions, sometimes I would send one of his videos and I would just say, hey, you know what? Just look for the information, take what you like, leave the rest. And there's some other people I watch that are excellent YouTubers when it comes to research peptides. So I kind of just want to blend a lot of that together and have it come out of my mouth or my AI clone's mouth. Just kind of the way I would like to see it. So that's pretty much what we're doing here. And so hope this helps. Hope you continue watching the channel. You know, if you don't mind, you think it's worth it, please hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and leave me a question or leave me a comment. I kind of use those to figure out what kind of videos I want to put out in the future. And it's just good to have feedback, you know, even if it's maybe something I don't want to see. I'm glad it's there anyway. So that's it from the Wellness Elevation channel. I'm going to stay focused on peptide, research peptide for a while, and we'll see what we can get through together. Thanks. Bye.